They wore crowns of gold, but behind their jewels were whispers of blood, lust, and betrayal. Kings who killed for love, queens who defied empires for desire, and royal secrets so dark they were erased from history books. From Cleopatra's forbidden passion to Diana's heartbreaking truth, tonight we open the velvet curtains of power and expose the scandals that shook the world. As great as thrones, the weight of the crown. For centuries, monarchs were more than rulers. They were symbols of divine power. To defy them was to defy God. They lived in palaces of marble and gold, yet their hearts were prisons of secrets. Because behind every throne there were whispers, affairs, betrayals, murders, and forbidden loves that could destroy kingdoms. The closer you get to power, the more dangerous love becomes. And history's most powerful crowns often hid the most scandalous hearts. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar, the queen who seduced an empire. Our first scandal begins in the burning sands of Egypt, 48 BC. The kingdom of the Nile was crumbling, torn by civil war. At its center stood a young queen, Cleopatra VII, barely in her 20s, cunning, ambitious, and willing to do anything to survive. Her brother had seized the throne. The royal palace was crawling with enemies. But Cleopatra was not a woman to surrender. So one night, under the cover of darkness, she smuggled herself into the palace, rolled up inside a carpet. When the rug unfurled before Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in Rome, he found more than a desperate queen. He found temptation. Their affair defied politics, religion, and empire. To the Romans, Cleopatra was a witch, a foreign seductress who had bewitched their leader. Yet Caesar was entranced. Together, they dreamed of uniting two civilizations under one destiny, but destiny turned on them. When Caesar was murdered in Rome, Cleopatra found solace in another Roman, Mark Antony. Their passion was volcanic, their union a scandal that shook empires. Together they defied Rome and paid the price. As Octavian's armies closed in, Cleopatra refused to be paraded through the streets of Rome as a trophy. She chose her own death, a serpent's bite, the poison of freedom. Her love rewrote history, and her scandal still echoes through time. Henry VIII, the king who killed for love. Fast forward to 16th century England, a world ruled by God, kings, and iron laws. Henry VIII was a man born to power, but haunted by one obsession, a male heir. His queen, Catherine of Aragon, could not give him one. And in the glittering courts of Tudor England, failure to produce a son was treason against the future. Then came Anne Boleyn, young, ambitious, and dangerously alluring. She refused to be another royal mistress. If Henry wanted her, she demanded a crown. But there was one problem. The Pope forbade divorce. So Henry did the unthinkable. He broke away from the Catholic Church, defied the Vatican, and declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England. He rewrote the laws of God, all for love, or perhaps for desire. But Anne's crown came with blood. When she failed to produce the male heir Henry craved, enemies whispered lies. Adultery, treason, betrayal. In a single morning, her fate was sealed. Anne Boleyn was executed by sword. Her final words whispered forgiveness to the man who condemned her. Henry would marry again and again. 6 wives, 2 beheaded, 1 survived. The scandal of his reign didn't just destroy families, it tore a nation apart. England's faith, laws, and destiny were forever changed by a king's hunger for control. Marie Antoinette, the queen who lost her head to a necklace. Now, we cross the English Channel to the heart of France. Versailles, the palace of dreams, decadence, and denial. And in its golden halls lived a queen whose name would one day symbolize everything wrong with royalty. Marie Antoinette, a teenage bride sent from Austria to marry the future King Louis XVI. She arrived in a world of diamonds, champagne, and endless parties. But beneath the laughter, the kingdom was rotting. While peasants starved, the court drowned in luxury. The queen became a symbol of greed. But the real scandal was yet to come. In 1785, A con artist pretending to be Marie tricked the clergy into purchasing an enormous diamond necklace worth millions. When the fraud was exposed, the people didn't believe the queen's innocence. They wanted someone to blame, and they chose her. Rumors spread that she said, "Let them eat cake." Historians doubt she ever uttered those words, but by then, truth didn't matter. The revolution had found its villain. In 1793, Marie Antoinette was led to the guillotine. As the blade fell, the crowd roared. The monarchy fell with her. Her greatest crime wasn't luxury. It was being human in a world that demanded perfection. King Edward VIII, the monarch who abdicated for love. Not every royal scandal ends in blood. Some end in heartbreak and exile. In 1936, the world watched as Britain's King Edward VIII faced an impossible choice: the throne or the woman he loved. Her name was Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee, charming and controversial. The royal court despised her. The church forbade the union. The government threatened rebellion. But Edward refused to live without her. In December of that year, he stunned the world by abdicating the throne. In his farewell speech, his voice trembled with emotion. "I have found it impossible to carry the heavy burden of kingship without the woman I love." He walked away from an empire for love, something no monarch had ever done. They lived the rest of their lives in quiet exile, forever outsiders. But his scandal reshaped modern monarchy, reminding the world that even kings must choose between duty and desire. Princess Diana, the people's princess and the broken crown. Decades later, another royal heart would capture the world and break it. Her name was Diana Spencer. She was young, radiant, and shy, the woman who would become Princess of Wales. Her wedding to Prince Charles was watched by over 700 million people. It was supposed to be a fairy tale. But behind the smiles, the cracks had already begun to form. Charles was still in love with another woman, Camilla Parker Bowles, and Diana knew. What followed was a war behind palace walls, affairs, loneliness, and the crushing weight of royal expectations. The press turned her into a global icon and a prisoner at the same time. Cameras followed her every move, every tear, every silence. Finally, she broke the silence. In a 1995 interview, she said the line that shattered the illusion of royal perfection forever. "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." The world sided with her. She became the people's princess, loved by millions, yet isolated by her own family. When she died in that tragic Paris car crash in 1997, the world wept. Streets filled with flowers and hearts filled with questions. Her death wasn't just the end of a story. It was the end of innocence for the modern monarchy. The lesson of the crown. From Cleopatra's deadly romance to Diana's lonely heart, one truth echoes through the corridors of time. Power can command nations, but it cannot control desire. Every crown hides a secret. Every throne casts a shadow. And history remembers not just the rulers who conquered lands, but those who dared to love and lost everything for it. Royalty may stand above the world, but in the end, even they cannot escape the one thing that makes us human: the hunger for love, power, and freedom. If you love exploring the forbidden stories that history tried to bury, subscribe and join us as we uncover the secrets that shaped our world.